Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news, and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. Your hosts, Emily Springstrow of Oshkosh Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on GovTV for your City Manager's Report, your source for all of the latest and greatest news and updates here in the city of Oshkosh, as well as a preview of the upcoming Common Council meeting agenda. I'm your host, Emily Springstrow, joined as always by our City Manager, Mark Roloff. So welcome, Mark. Thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here, Emily.
It's great to have you. As always, we've got a lot to cover in today's episode of City Manager's Report. So we're going to dive into the hot topics for the first half of the show. We'll take a little break, and then we'll come back with a preview of the highlights for the meeting agenda on Tuesday, April 24th, 2018. So, Mark, the first update or recap we have on today's show is snow. Lots and lots of snow. We want to talk about an update on, the street situation and some of the possible damages that had happened and how we're dealing with the aftermath of this massive snowstorm we had this week.
Well, certainly unprecedented for a mid-April storm of this magnitude. It certainly set a lot of records throughout the area. And it struck us on a weekend, which I guess has good and bad parts to that. But our folks, we were actually down. We kind of look at this as like a lull in the year. Mm-hmm. So we were down 5 people from our snowplow crews between current vacancies, and we actually give vacations during this time of year because we think the long winter has ended. So the amount of snow that we have is going to stick with us, even with the warm weather that we hope that spring normally brings. And we had some challenges in some areas because it's active parking for students and that, and particularly in the university area, narrow streets with a lot of cars that just were not moved because it was a weekend and they were staying put. And we actually had to put out some no parking notices on Monday and Tuesday, to get people to move them. So it was a real challenge, but appreciate all the cooperation. We had no parking, it could have been towed. No cars got towed. So that meant people that really cooperated. But we know that everybody has been going through a great deal of, whether it's personal or business, a lot of snow to move. And, people do call in about folks who haven't gotten their sidewalks done, but I think people were a little more understanding this time because this is a wet, heavy snow, and it's not like the light, fluffy, airy stuff that we get in January. So it's much more difficult. And at the end of the season, your snow blowers break down. A number of people commented to me about that. So we certainly understand those things. And meanwhile, our crews are working 24 hours. We've got half our crews working 12-hour days to just get all this done because we know we need to get it out of the residential areas. You can see these were cars got plowed in because they couldn't move, and we had to move the snow somewhere, and they got plowed in. And I know it's created a great inconvenience for a lot of folks, but it's one of those things where I think people understand and they kind of tough it out, and we share our misery together. So appreciate everybody's cooperation and thank the public works crews and all of our public safety folks for going above and beyond the call of duty during some difficult circumstances.
Definitely. And you mentioned once the weather does warm up and the snow hopefully starts to melt, just reminded me, we were talking about this before the show, is make sure that the gutters, the
storm
sewers,
drains.
Yes, that's important to.
Yeah, I know people would like it to be warm. I would like it to be warm. I'd like it to get warm slowly so that it slowly melts. But get your storm drains open near the curb by your homes and everything. That'll help get the flow going and ease it, because we don't want localized flooding if the storm sewer drains are backed up.
Definitely. So we're very thankful to our staff and to the public for being patient throughout this crazy snow event that we had in the last week. And speaking of that, it's a great segue into our next topic, because this crazy snowstorm we had did end up postponing a major traffic change that's going to be happening downtown on CP, Otter, and Wagoo. So tell us a little bit about what was going to be happening.
The last show we talked about this, that we were going to be making a CP, Otter, and Wagoo two-way streets for a portion of the construction out in that area with Washington Avenue and Court. But CP is going to be open to, we're going to make it two-way traffic. Now we've moved it to Monday, April 23rd. And that's from Court intersection until the intersection of Court and CP is done. So that'll be State to Broad Street. Similarly, Wagoo and Otter will remain two-way from April 23rd through probably October. The idea is so that residents can better access their properties. It's going to be pretty limited access throughout this project, so we want to make sure that they can enter their homes from one of two ways, depending on what's going on the cross streets on those days.
Okay, and so signage will be up, so as always, and we said this last episode, just kind of slow down when you see those traffic and construction signs, and be aware that these streets are going to be changing, and it's going to be a little bit of a adjustment, I guess, as we move forward.
Yeah, look out. I know the habit is to be in both lanes on these streets when they're one way, but please stay on the normal right side, and there'll be things up there for people to see, but please take extra care, and when you see somebody coming at you, maybe you need to move into the next lane.
Yes, and as we're talking about construction, there's one other update. The Oregon Street project that is going on right now, we want to give a little bit update on that. Project is continuing. Tell us a little bit of the latest we have for that project.
Well, that's a very disruptive project. A good part of Oregon Street is closed. But I will say that the businesses have been doing everything they can to accommodate their customers. A lot of businesses have opened their doors on the back side of the businesses, and so they're pretty accessible. So don't give up on these businesses. In fact, if anything, now's an opportunity because they might be a little slower. Great customer service, great access. The Oregon Street businesses have been very patient and very cooperative with us. So show them a little love for everything they're doing. But we certainly want to make sure that we do everything to give public the access to these businesses, and so hopefully just keep aware of what things are going on there, and hopefully the businesses will continue to do okay during this time.
Yes, it's a great reminder to shop local and support our local businesses, and kind of just bear with us as this project continues. Yeah. So the other thing that we want to talk about today, Mark, moving down in our list, is dealing with the fire chief, the search for a new fire chief as Chief Franz retires in June. We had a meet and greet a couple days ago this week, and got to meet some of the finalists for the position. So tell us how that went.
There were 3 finalists, all from out of our department, and actually all from out of state. 2 from Illinois, 1 from Colorado. Had a great opportunity for the public to meet them. A great turnout, to be honest with you, especially with all the snow we talked about. Right. People came out, and 2 hours of open house where you can meet all the candidates and just kind of introduce yourself to them. I think it was important for the community to meet them, but it was also equally important for us to show our candidates what our community's like and what our priorities are. And I think it made a very good impression, and I got a lot of positive feedback from the candidates. And then the next day, on Wednesday, they were interviewed, 3 community panels, as well as the Police and Fire Commission itself. So those people went through the ringer pretty good to basically tell us what they're about, and the PFC will make a decision based on that.
So when are we expecting a decision to be made? When can we be on the lookout for an announcement for our new fire chief?
Well, I expect it'll still be a couple of weeks because final background type of checks, including, we're very thorough when we do this. We have a psychological exam, a physical examination that we put the candidates through, and we want to make sure that whoever we have just can meet all the qualifications, and they are still a public safety officer, which is why all this is done. Mm-hmm. But I expect in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to make an announcement. We'll have to negotiate what their salary and benefits and things like that will be. And that's pretty standard. So it usually takes about 2 weeks for all that to play out. So stay tuned. I would guess by the next time we get together, we'll be talking about our new fire chief.
We'll have a fun announcement, yes. So it's exciting, and it's great to see these meet and greets happen, and give the public the opportunity to get a feel for the type of people that we're interviewing, and like you said, we're also showing these finalists what the Oshkosh community is like as well. So it's a great opportunity. Moving down our list, we have a new Polko question that we have posted to the city website and to the Polko Oshkosh page, and this one is dealing with Rouge Park. The question is, are you in favor of adding trail lighting and outdoor exercise equipment to Rouge Park? Now, this is a lot has been going on over in Rouge Park, and it's an interesting park because of the land type that it's on. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's squeezed between the Carl Traeger school property and residential areas. It was dedicated as part of that development, so the neighborhood has a great deal of ownership of it. And we are getting, we're really asking these questions in anticipation of having a master plan for Rouge Park. And there's a public input meeting coming up, and it's going to be Wednesday, April 25th. At 6:30 p.m. over at Carl Traeger Middle School cafeteria, and it's really to identify various outdoor recreation options at Rouge Park. Because of the uniqueness of it being along the creek and everything, there's limited things you can do. So the question is, what types of things? So the question about the trail lighting and outdoor exercise equipment is really just part of that process. What are your thoughts on what things we want out there? There are people that have been at the neighborhood meetings and providing input on it. And so this is specifically about the park in general. It is a public park for the entire city, not just the neighborhood, but clearly the neighborhood residents are the folks who have the most interest in that.
Definitely. So we encourage people to chime in on Polko. The link is just right on the city website's homepage. Otherwise, check out our Facebook page. We'll be continuing to share that as this public input meeting comes up on the 25th. So now it's that time of the show where viewers have the opportunity to ask their city manager anything they want about different city projects and updates happening here in Oshkosh. It is question mark, so let's see what the question is this week. All right, Mark, so question is, what is that big apartment building being built on Marion Road?
Well, it's a big apartment building. We know that for sure.
Yes.
Actually, this is the old Lamico wooden crutch site that is now going to be the Annex Apartments. It's private student housing, so that's why it's near the university. And it's a redevelopment project because there was a great deal of contamination over at the old Lamico site. And this is a TIF district, but this is a little different than the rest of Marion Road because when we did the TIF district for Marion Road, the city did all the environmental removal or the bulk of it. Mm-hmm. This site was not included in that TIF district. So the costs that the annex folks are seeking through the tax increment district is to do the cleanup that we would have done with the other TIFs anyway. So there is an equality with that, even though it's more about when that cleanup gets done. This is cleanup's being done in conjunction with the construction of the apartment complex. Mm-hmm. So the goal is to have the student housing open in August of 2018. I'm sure this snow has impacted them, but their time frame is a little different than other types of projects because this is related to student housing, so they need to be ready by August. So
right.
We'll be watching anxiously, but the TIF district that was created is called a pay-as-you-go district, so it's based on performance. If they raise property values, then the incentive will be there. So they're covering the cost, and there's the risk gets transferred from the city to the developer, which is a good thing, and that's why the pay-as-you-go districts work that way. Excellent. And the city is going to be doing the trail and riverwalk improvements through the TIF. That'll still get paid through that. So more extension of the riverwalk and trail amenities to get the residents of that area down to the Riverwalk. So it'll be great for everybody.
It's exciting, yeah, and it's always great to hear the Riverwalk updates, improvements happening. But yeah, it seems like as though this building has just popped up out of nowhere. So it's a great update, a great recap of how the pay-as-you-go TIF works, and we're looking forward to seeing the finished product. So thanks for the answer today, Mark.
Oh, you're welcome.
So if you'd like to send a question to Mark for him to answer on the next episode of City Manager's Report, send it to us on Twitter, post it to our Facebook wall, or email it to us, and he will get the answer for you on the next episode. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dive into the Oshkosh Common Council meeting for Tuesday, April 24th, 2018. We'll be right back on CMR.
Holding a phone takes precious attention away from the road. That's why handheld cell phone use is now illegal in Wisconsin work zones, and fines start at $40. Driving deserves your undivided attention. It's about safety for workers and for all motorists. So when you see orange cones, please put down the phone. The Wisconsin DOT urges you to help us achieve 0 deaths on Wisconsin roads.
Calling all pop culture fanatics. Your favorite characters are coming to the Oshkosh Public Museum. Replay is the ultimate throwback, featuring more than 30 vibrant pieces of art that celebrate the comic books, movies, and superheroes of the iconic 80s. Experience Replay, the exhibition, on display February 18th to May 13th at the Oshkosh Public Museum. For more information, visit oshkoshmuseum.org.
Welcome back to your City Manager's Report. Thanks again for joining us. So now it's that time of the show. We're going to take a look at the Oshkosh Common Council agenda for Tuesday, April 24th, 2018. So Mark, the first thing that we want to discuss is one of the proclamations that is Kids to Parks Day. What exactly is this day designated for? Tell us a little bit about the background on this.
Well, the whole idea is nationwide to encourage youth to enjoy public parks, and it's an idea about getting active and certainly healthy lifestyles, but identifying parks as a great way to do that. And it's that is corresponding with the Menominee Park Zoo getting opened, as well as all the other amenities over at Menominee Park that we get to enjoy. So we're gonna that's one of 3 proclamations at the council meeting, and certainly one we want to talk about. It's also Older Americans Month, so we got kids covered, we got older Americans covered, and then also National Day of Prayer that we'll be recognizing. So we certainly want the families of our community to get out and have them explore. If you haven't been to the Menominee Park Zoo with your children, this is a great opportunity to do it, and hopefully the weather will be cooperating with everybody.
Yes, we'll keep our fingers crossed on the weather. But yeah, one more time, May 5th, Menominee Park Zoo opens, and we encourage everybody to get out there and take advantage of our wonderful parks in City of Oshkosh. Next item that we want to talk about, Mark, under the consent agenda is the award of a bid to Pemazel Fire Equipment for power-assisted ambulance stretchers and loaders. So tell us a little bit, what exactly is this piece of equipment?
This is something that has been on the fire department's radar for some time. You know, we are doing many more EMS, emergency medical service calls, than we ever have. And a lot of times we try to send out a fire unit along with a 2-person ambulance unit, but that's not always possible. So a lot of times they're going to these medical calls with only 2 people, 2 EMTs to be able to help transport folks. And between it's only being a 2-person crew and the fact that, you know, we're bigger than we used to be, and it's heavier patients, we need these stretchers, loaders are power assisted, so it doesn't require as much back braking type of work, and the lifts do the bulk of the work. It's really an employee safety issue. This will help reduce our workers' comp claims, and a lot of them come from these types of things. So that's why we're doing it, and we're going to put them on all the ambulance units, and we're happy to do it. We think it's a great move towards better employee safety.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the background on that. Moving down the consent agenda, we've got the approval of the general development plan for a daycare, parking, and storage facility. This is on 223 East Nevada. And this is a really interesting project because it's unlike any other daycare facility in the region.
We don't have a 2-shift daycare center in the city of Oshkosh right now, and the Oshkosh Winnebago County Housing Authority is building an apartment complex at the old Waite Grass Rug factory, and included in that, over on East Nevada, is going to be a daycare center. So this went through the review process. The fact that we are looking at a 2-shift, which means, you know, first and second shift, so well into the evening as well as early in the morning, that will help people who may be able to get a job on second shift, which is in high demand, but a lot of people can't take it because they don't have daycare. So we're hoping that this will resolve something that is a definite need in our community.
Excellent. And so we've got a rendering here. It looks like it'll be a really nice facility, and it's just exciting to see something like this coming to Oshkosh, getting more opportunity for those parents.
And it's also great. It's a great reuse of that area, and it's going to be a wonderful addition to the neighborhood.
Wonderful. Moving down the consent agenda, we've got quite a few special events, which means it's, spring and summer is hopefully on its way. But one of these events that we wanted to highlight is the Memorial Day procession and the reading of the name ceremony at South Park. So Memorial Day is a huge day here in Oshkosh. There's a lot going on.
We have a very, it's a wonderful event where we honor our veterans and those who have sacrificed their lives for our country in the service of our country. And from City Hall out to Riverside Park will be the Memorial Day Parade. It starts at City Hall, and very wonderful ceremony. Veterans groups, other community groups, bands, and things like that will be there. And then also, the Disabled Veterans of America will be going to the South Park War Monument to also have another dedicated ceremony. So they read the names of fallen soldiers who were from Oshkosh and Winnebago County, and they'll be doing that at South Park. So we're very appreciative of the people who put these together, because they're showing their appreciation for those who've served our country. So we're real happy to be proud to be part of this.
Definitely. And the Memorial Day procession is covered by Oshkosh Media, so if you keep an eye on our Facebook page, that is taking place on May 28th on Memorial Day, and we'll have replays of that if you aren't able to make it to that procession. And then a couple other special events that we want to highlight, Mark, too, is Waterfest at the Leach Amphitheater is coming up, as well as Irish Fest. So a lot coming up at the Leach this summer.
Those two events really kick off the summer in a lot of people's minds, both at the Leach Amphitheater. Waterfest series starts June 21st, runs through August 23rd, so about an 8-week run. We're very happy to have that. And then Irish Fest is actually kicking off the summer season. That's June 15th through 17th over at the Leach Amphitheater. And it's a wonderful event. It brings people from outside the area to enjoy Irish music and hopefully good weather and good company with everybody. So very appreciative of that group keeping that event going. And there's a lot of fun people that attend the event, and I certainly encourage you, if you haven't checked it out, to give it a go.
It's really cool. It's really cool, yeah. And these are just a few of the special events that are on the agenda, so be sure to tune into the council meeting and get a full rundown of the events that are being approved at this meeting. Moving on to new ordinances, Mark, we have the removal of parking on the west side of the street and designate bike lanes on North Main from Murdoch to Snell, and then also designating bike lanes. So these two items are somewhat related. Tell us a little bit about what the removing of the parking is doing and what the purpose of all this is.
This is all about adding bike lanes on the north side of town to connect all of these destinations together. The one you see right now is on North Main. It's north of Murdoch. You recall that when we did Main Street south of Murdoch just recently, that we added bike lanes. So we're doing similarly to what we did south of Murdoch, but it takes it all the way up to Snell Road. So essentially, we're getting you into County Park, which was the goal of our bike plan. So we're very happy for that. And then the second one is to designate bike lanes on Smith Avenue, and that's from Vinland to Jackson Street. And that's those will be bike lanes themselves, and that's obviously to get us over to Oshkosh North. And then east of Jackson Street, we're going to be putting in sharrows between Jackson and North Main, and there won't be any parking removed from that area.
Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of a play on the bike lane, except, like you said, the parking will remain. So it's a great opportunity to update people on what exactly a sharrow is.
Yeah, the sharrow is really just, we're not going to do a designated bike lane, but we want to let people know that designated bike traffic will be expected in the area. And we do it, it's a little bit of, sharrow comes from the word sharing. We want everybody to share, but you have to be on the lookout for that. So when you see the special sharrow lanes in the traffic lane, understand that you might see bikes joining you in the traffic.
Wonderful. Well, big project, and we look forward to seeing these start popping up as the season goes on here. Under new resolutions, Mark, we have change order for the Marion Road water tower replacement, and this is the only change order that we have on this project. So tell us about what this is including.
Well, there weren't too many surprises with this project, which is great, but there's obviously things that happen over the course of the contract in terms of things underneath with water utilities, making sure we get the right connection and things like that. This change order for the entire project's less than 1%, so that's outstanding. These are inevitable with these types of projects, but to keep it that low with such a high-level project is pretty good. So. But this pretty much means we're getting to the end of the project.
We're almost done.
Yeah, all the underground stuff is done. The little to no surprises we're anticipating. So the water tower is operational right now. The old water tower, weather dependent, we're looking at the middle of May before it goes down.
Yeah, so be sure to be on the lookout for a future report on that, because that is something you don't want to miss. We'll have some great video and photos to show you as the future City Manager Report episodes come along.
Yeah, rare opportunity.
Yes. And then finally, on the last page of the agenda, we have council member announcements and statements, and the mayor will be plugging the Unity in Community event coming up on May 5th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
We've been talking about this for a long time, and it's finally coming to pass. Saturday, May 5th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Unity Community. This is their new logo that they asked us to plug there. And the other project that's been going on for a while that's going to be unhatching itself will be the lake fly hatching, the public art project that we have, where different community groups are sponsoring to paint a lake fly, much like what we did with the Nutcrackers and the Lions in past years. But Nutcrackers and Lions aren't necessarily native to our area. The lake fly is. So you're going to see that at Unity and Community, which is a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the different cultures in our community and enjoy food, music, and hopefully good weather so everybody can enjoy it. So keep an eye out for May 5th at 11 a.m.
We're definitely looking forward to it, for a great event and for a wonderful lake fly hatching as well. And then the last item that we want to discuss here under City Manager announcements and statements is future steps for resolution of inactive liquor licenses. And this is something that's a new procedure that we're doing with this.
The council's had some discussions, and now we're going to be, as we're getting close to the end of the liquor license season, there are a number of liquor licenses that have been inactive. One was on city property in the Marion Road area, and the council said we need to bring these liquor licenses back to one pool that we can make them available for other businesses. And so we're going to get some direction from council on how we want to do that. It's going to be a little difficult for folks who have been able to hang on to these licenses, but they're not being used. And we feel that getting them all together in one location, then when somebody has a project that they're ready to go with, they're going to be available for them, and they can move their project without a great deal of wondering if they can even start a project. And we want people to be able to start projects, not just talk about maybe we'll get a project done. And it's a little bit of trust, a little bit of awkwardness, but I've had the experience in this before, and I think we've reached the point where we need to do this to more effectively promote economic development with restaurants that want to have liquor licenses as an option for the residents.
It's making best use of those limited licenses that are available, and I guess you could say not wasting them in a way that they're sitting not being used.
They're really sitting just unused and inactive, and that's not efficient. So this will be a better way to do it, and I'm just going to ask people to trust us through the process, and I think it'll really work much better.
Excellent. Well, that was the last item that we had on our agenda to discuss. So as always, I'd like to thank you, Mark, for joining us on City Manager's Report today.
Oh, it's always a pleasure.
Once again, the Common Council meeting is this Tuesday, April 24th at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on GovTV and on our website at oshkoshmedia.org, or you can listen to it on 101.9 Oshkosh FM, which is also online and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. Make sure you like Oshkosh Media on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for all of your community and government programming and updates, or check out our YouTube channel for government meeting replays and past episodes of your favorite programs. And as always, don't forget, if you have a question for City Manager Mark Roloff, send it to us on Twitter at City of Oshkosh, post it on our Facebook page at Oshkosh Media, or email it to us and he'll answer it on the next episode of CMR. So that's going to do it for this episode of City Manager's Report. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.